forest. There's a little bit further up.
Okay.
That's the entrance you normally go in.
Is it this here on the left?
Yes, it looks like it, yeah.
Right. Here we go.
Oh, dear me.
We are more than half an hour early. Yeah.
Yep, it's about 10 to 8. We left about 7. Yeah, basically, you know, throughout the day I'm going to be trying to do these Facebook Live things. I can't promise anything. What I was going to say was that if I don't, you know, Smurfy wanted me to get the lemurs, the wolves and the meerkats basically live. If I can't do that, you know, I would just spend all of my time and effort in the next few days sort of extracting them from the camera and, you know, uploading them in the next few days. Unfortunately, my camera knows up, like everything plausible has gone wrong basically over the last few days. My started with my computer noising up, and then the wild place itself, like my brother's seen the email exchange, and then I had to come down here and my camera nosed up, and then yesterday my internet even went down, and it's just been a complete and total nightmare. So we've got a borrowed camera, my DVD camcorder, and basically what I'm going to say now is you know, I will try to get the Facebook Live things, that shouldn't be a problem. If I can't, I will get them up as soon as possible. But I'm actually waiting for a charger for my DVD camcorder. Until that arrives, I won't be able to finalise the discs, and I won't be able to access them. So, whatever, I'll put the videos up. We'll get plenty of photos and videos, won't we? So. I don't know what time it is. Usually, yeah, time down there, but
Time 7:54.
That's alright, we can relax for a bit, and then go in.
The newest part of our enclosure is actually this thing behind. The newest part of our enclosure is actually this thing behind you. So, you don't want to leave. Oh. So that's their, that's the giraffe. can't really believe that the guinea fowl come back every night. So we let them out and they can go wherever they want. But about 4 o'clock they all wait to go back. You'd think that they'd go off into a tree or I don't know.
They know they're getting fed here, is that what it is?
So in here we've got our 2 red river hogs, which are the ones that are just coming up now. So I did bring them 2 apples each for you to throw in. So you can put the wheelbarrow down.
Oh yeah.
Pigs!
Yeah.
Big.
Go on, you have them all.
You want one?
No, you're fine. I'll concentrate on being cameraman for this one. You sound just like my doorbell.
So we've got Ikundu, which is the one at the front, and Mitu at the back. And they're 2 brothers that are, I think they... See, I'm rubbish at their ages because when they come as an age, that sticks in your head and then you can never really remember. I'm pretty sure they're either coming up to 5 or they are 5. And they're from the same litter, but if you look at this one at the front, how big his muzzle is up to the other one, you'd think that they'd be exactly the same size, shape, and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But because the one at the front is more dominant, he's got more testosterone in his blood, he's a bit more kind of in your face. He's grown that much more bigger muzzle than his little brother has, which is a bit more subordinate. So in the wild, the one at the front would probably get bigger a lot quicker, find some girlfriends. The other one would probably be on the outskirts of a group much more than a dominant male, which isn't very nice for him. But it's just interesting to see that even though there's no females, there's nobody else, there's just 2 of them, that still happens because there is a dominant one and a less dominant one.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And they love eating all day, every day.
Yeah.
There are bins, so if we get something donated that's, I don't know, nothing else can eat, they love it. We've got a lot of pumpkins in the last couple of weeks.
Time of the season.
Yeah. So the original idea was to mix the Red River hogs with the zebra and eland and then giraffes all together. We found that the Red River hogs get on fine with the giraffe, so actually we can mix them together. These go in the house, they dig around in the sand, they have the best time ever. But we found with the zebras are not very nice. They love chasing them round, they bully them. So we've got Aaron and Axel, are our 2 eland. They came to us from West Midlands Safari Park. And actually they are 2 castrated males. But the reason we have them is because they're actually, apart from the giant eland, they're the largest type of antelope you can get.
Oh wow.
So we've got them much more for kind of impressive big animal than conservation as such. But they're actually, if we were to breed them, it's really difficult to move them on because everybody breeds them. And they're actually farmed in Africa as a cattle. So actually they're not endangered, there's loads around. If we were to breed it would be quite irresponsible.
Right.
So we decided just to get the 2 males, so
Cheers.
they live quite happily together. Although he's not coming in, what's the problem?
Doesn't like the camera shy.
Yeah. Oh no, we're gone. We might get a zebra now. Come on, Zach! Are you mad? I'm not coming in there, he says in his head. So Zach is the one right in front of us. So he's the male, which is actually 20 years old next year. And he's a Chapman zebra. The other 2 are Grant zebras, which are subspecies of the plains zebra. So they're all the same species, but they're different subspecies.
Right, okay.
They're not as friendly as the eland are, but I was hoping they would still come in. Come on, one of you, there's 3 of you. Got a 33% chance of one coming in.
He looks pretty happy out there.
Oh. Come on! Tell you what, I'll get a bucket. They sometimes hear a bucket and they won't do it.
They're quite docile, aren't they? I'm getting good footage of his zebs. Hey, zebs.
on, Zach.
So I'll try and get my cat in at the end of the night and shake his treats.
And does it work?
Most of the time, yeah. Depends how stubborn he's been.
Don't like those treats, these fish ones.
Yep, the dreamies, yeah. He'd eat them all day if he could.
Come on, Zach. You know you can do it. So we've got, so he's the Chapmans, there's 2 grants. The 2 grants are a male and a female, and the male isn't castrated, so he's entire. So we're hopefully good.
Do you know much about these guys, or no? So
No, not at all.
they are a primate species, but they are kind of the last in a long line of grazing primates, which don't really exist anymore, but they, back kind of through the ages, there were quite a few of them. So these guys live on the kind of Ethiopian highlands, so big high plateaus, and they literally spend all of their time sat on their bums grazing. So quite unlike the rest of your monkeys and things like that.
Who are quite active, yeah.
Yeah, these guys just sort of sit around and pluck the grass, really. You'll see when we put some food out in a minute, you'll see how they do it. Because they are closely related to things like baboons, and you can kind of see the similarity.
Yeah.
But they're in their own little genus, because they're that bit different. And Hercules there, who's in the middle, he's distinctive because you can just about see his middle finger on his left hand is broken, so it constantly points out. So it always looks like he's doing some sort of obscene gesture to you.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
So that's how you can always tell him apart. He's the easiest one because of that. And that's why they've got those red parts on their chest there, is the same as kind of how baboons use their rumps to display to each other. These guys use their chests to do that, because obviously they're always sat on their bums. So they have the red areas, and they get more red and more prominent when the males become kind of sexually active and during the breeding season as well.
Do you breed them here?
Not at the moment, because we've only had these guys about a year, and it's all the breeding of all the zoo animals really is run by stud books. So because we'd never held geladas before, they generally give you a single sex group to start with, so that you can kind of get all your experience and make sure you know what you're doing before you start breeding them.
I think Joe was saying that about giraffes as well.
Yeah, and they're very similar things. So
Yeah.
it could be something that we look to do in the future. And you can hold them in quite big groups. I mean, these came from Zurich Zoo, and there was about 40 odd of them in their group there.
Zurich.
So all the males will have a little harem of females, and then they all have young following them around as well.
And you can't argue that you're basically an annex of Bristol Zoo.
Yeah, we are, yeah.
And you've been around for 180 years, but it's just like
They're much bigger.
Yeah, we can't quite,
except
because we've only been open 4 years, yeah, you
Yeah.
can't really use their experience, unfortunately. If only. But yeah. Right, so we'll go inside and we'll clean their inside area out.
Cool.
And we'll leave these guys shut out while we do that, just because they are, well, yeah, you don't want to be in a small room with one of these.
Record.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to be a pain in the arse.
And stand in the corner and wait. Gelada feed.
There you go.
Right. We can get his footage of you flinging it around.
5 seconds. It's got a 4K camera.
How are we doing?
Sorry, I was taking some 4K.
No, that's alright, you carry on.
I'm chief camcorder expert today.
Taking some 4K footage of these worms.
We've come all this way to experience, and we're taking videos of worms.
I'm quick enough to
All part of it.
drive shit. And monkey shell.
Perfect. Is that about half? Is there still some left?
There is some there.
Yeah, that'd be fine, so that can go in a different room. So if I swap you, and then in here, so those 3 lettuces can go in here. Just literally chuck them anywhere you like.
Put one there and they can have.
And one on the floor.
Here all the time, and then suddenly, if I buy them in the morning, start banging and crashing around, they get really stressed. Well, they can get really stressed.
Yeah, I see. So the radio stays on all the time?
So normally, we end up with 2 groups for free, but I've got 4 in here and 2 in there this morning.
Oh, okay.
Which gives up to them, but they do form little kind of sort of like partnerships between the males, so they have friends who they're friends with most of the time. There's one in there who's not normally in with that group, so we'll just give them the extra room in case he decides he doesn't want to play with them.
Oh, right, I see.
For a minute. Okay, and then pop another set of gloves on for me, and we're going to go out and do the outside.
You got your phone? Yeah. Thank you. This is what we picked up. Tasty. 86 minutes left on this card. When we have a break, let's switch over to one of your SD cards.
Yes.
Beautiful day.
They're a pain to get on, aren't they? Okay. Go through. Yeah. And then the same with that blue one. You go right, boys? Make this bit a little bit presentable. If they want to, they can.
How much have you got there?
84 minutes.
84.
84, yeah. Plenty for lemurs. He's ruling the roost. And full battery as well. I'm guessing that's what that means. 84 minutes is not battery time, but time on the card.
When you've done that.
They live around that one lake in Madagascar, and they live in the reeds, so they never actually touch solid ground in the wild. But here, obviously, there are lakes, so. And they are a type of bamboo lemur, so they spend a lot of time eating bamboo in the wild. And we do try and give them as much bamboo as we can here. But obviously, at certain times of year, there's a kind of shortage. Yeah, I tried to put some in that bowl yesterday, and they just pulled it all out and shoved it all in. Lazy. Yeah. Yeah, so they are a breeding pair. The one closest to us is the male, that's Roa, and the one at the back is the female. and she's called Tiana, and we're hoping for some babies, but we're just kind of have to wait and see what happens really.
They're very suspicious, aren't they?
They're a bit wary, these ones. They do generally kind of hang back a little bit.
Yeah.
And they've not been here that long really. They've only been here, I think they came at the start of the year, so they're still settling in a little bit really. What we got? Come on then.
Oops,
So yeah, one piece each. If you hold, one end, she will take it nice and gently from you. Good boy. So.
Bless them. Look at them. They've got little dog faces, haven't they?
Yeah. So this is a little family. So mum is this one on your left. That's Hosey. Dad's the one on the end there. That's Hebus. And then we got the two little boys. Andrew's on the bench and Eric is on the stump behind you.
Eric there. He was back to us.
Yes. But these guys can have quite a lot of babies in one go. They can have anywhere up to kind of 4 or 5. Because they leave them in a nest in the trees in the wild. But they have something like a 70% mortality rate because the babies fall out of the nest.
Oh no.
So it doesn't seem to be a particularly effective strategy, but that's why they have so many at a time, I think.
The nest don't have any predators? Any birds of prey?
Yes, but the parents will disguise them and kind of it's safer to leave them somewhere kind of safe and snug than it is to take them out through the canopy. And also, obviously, these guys, they move so far and so wide and things that if you had 6 babies hanging off you whilst you're trying to climb through the trees, you would really struggle.
Yeah.
So whereas like the ringtails that are down the other end will only have 2 at the most, and it's quite rare in the wild for them to have twins because they do carry them everywhere they go. So it's kind of just a different strategy of doing things, really.
Yeah. What's this pumpkin they're eating?
Sweet potato.
Sweet potato? Oh, okay.
Sweet potato is Alima's absolute favourite. They will do almost anything for a bit of sweet potato.
Awesome. It's nice and healthy.
Yes. Yeah, so they used to be, lemurs generally used to be fed a lot of fruit in captivity, because they do eat quite a lot of fruit in the wild, but obviously all the fruit that's grown here is that much sweeter than anything you'd ever get naturally growing.
Yeah.
Then if you are to give it to them all day, every day, it's the same as us having sweets for 3 meals a day, really. They get problems with their teeth and all sorts of stuff. So
right. So it's more of a treat for them.
So yeah, so if they ever have fruit, it's normally if we need to get them to take medicine that they don't really want to take, more than anything. Isn't it? But Hebus and Hosey came from French zoos where they did have some fruit in their diet still. It wasn't wholly fruit, but some of it was. So when they first moved here, they were a bit put out, but they didn't get any.
No. Took a little time to adjust.
Yeah, they had to get used to it.
Bless them.
Don't you? But you have now.
I just feel like I want to pet them like a cat. I imagine they wouldn't like that.
No.
Oh, bless them.
But they, we obviously people come in here and everyone, instantly wants to touch them. You can see why. But they would not be fans of them.
Oh no, they don't get close enough, do they? You do that and they'll run somewhere where you can't touch them.
Yeah, it's very, it is. The reason you get so close in here is because they trust that you're not going to touch them, but it is something everyone wants to do, to try and kind of experience it, and
I guess also
It's kind of nonsense. If you were the one feeding them, they'd let you scratch them behind the ear.
Yeah, I suppose if you're close enough.
Because one in Dudley Zoo did that when I was being naughty.
you can. I mean, if you've hand-reared them and if you've trained them and they are used to being touched, then that is possible. But I mean, none of our lemurs. I mean, I don't touch them unless we're having to get them in a vet. Take them up to the vets or something. We don't really have any physical contact with them, so they're just not used to it.
They have a hands-off thing, but they have a huge enclosure with one member of staff. So you just go to the opposite end, and she was getting on my nerves because he was talking absolute nonsense about how we're just trees to lemurs, so they don't like climbing. I was like, well, they like climbing trees. And what are you talking about? They're just trying to. Yeah, it's fine.
Little sniff. That's what this is. Right?
I'll tell you what it was. They were jumping all over other people. They were rummaging through people's hair, and I was getting jealous. I thought, right, next time I'll bring a bag in, open top bag, and I brought all kinds of carrots on the bottom, and fill it with clothes and stuff, and I'll carry that around with me, and they'll smell the carrots, and they'll be all over me, and it worked. But then one of them stole a carrot and grassed me off.
Was this in Dudley?
But yeah, but that was
So you got in trouble for that?
yeah, I got in trouble for that. But I get there to scratch a rough.
Steal a penguin.
I was going to say, yeah. You said I've got a penguin in the bag.
Yeah, I've heard some bad stories.
Strike the penguin. That was in Birdland. Wasn't supposed to do that either, I think.
No, I don't think you was.
No. Hello. Now she's petrified. He just wants to get me out of it.
Should we go and see the ringtails?
Yeah.
This isn't for you now, guys. You've had some.
Yep. Sorry, dude.
Wait a minute.
You want my phone?
You had yours. This is for the ringtails now.
You want me phone? Okay, I'm going to have to finish this because we're going to go to the ringtails.
Ooh, that was
Okay, I'm
magic.
going to give you the bucket. So I want you to, kind of tip it all out over these stumps. There's the platform over there. You can put some on. We can bring some down and put some on the middle land in here as well. Oh, hello. So yeah.
Hello. I'm getting this. Tip it out, remember?
Yeah, so if you come and put some down, they'll back off a little bit. So on some of these stumps here, just watch your feet as well because they will get right under your feet. Okay, so yeah, just pop it down on the stump there for them and they will come and take it. You want to get the green stuff out relatively quickly because they won't be interested in that at all. They want the sweet potato and stuff that's generally at the bottom of the bucket. Here. That's it. If you just put it down on the stumps for me rather than giving it to them, just because they will start to squabble over it otherwise. Yeah. Okay, and we can go and put some down this way as well. So we spread it around the enclosure just because there's a lot of them. A couple of them, like these two over here, these are much lower ranking, so they will stay away from the main group and then feeding. So we need to make sure there's lots of different places where they go. So yeah, come over the roof, you can put some on that bit of rock there, or up on this platform here. But yeah, so just pop it down on the floor. Yes, breakfast, isn't it? Yeah, the whole bucket. It can go. Yeah, so some bit more down there, some up on this platform. Yeah. Perfect. I've got it today. I'm just going to leave the bucket then. And then pop some on the, on the roof and on the bottom platform as well. That's it. Oh, there was no sweet potato in that bucket, was there?
Well, I hope I haven't learned the
They
name
are not
sweet
going to
potato.
be impressed. Can you just come back one step for me? Just come a little
careful.
bit back from her, if you can. Although there is a lever in your way, as always.
There's nothing in the bucket.
He'll want to have a check. He likes to check. He doesn't trust you. Don't trust me. Do you want me to take the bucket off you so you've got more hands? Yeah, don't trust any of us normally to...
Is this okay for him to take a few
Yeah,
photos
yeah,
from
it's
him?
fine. Yeah, absolutely fine.
The lemurs are one of his favourites.
Yeah, take as many photos and videos and all the rest of it as you want.
Thank you.
Morning, guys. Oi.
Strawberries lose to the lemurs.
So the ones you've got in here, obviously you've got your ringtails.
Yeah.
They're striped tails, I'm sure you know they all are anyway. But your mongoose lemurs are the two here, who are all on the rope, and the one sat on the tree support, and then at the back you've got two red-bellied lemurs as well. And the mongoose lemurs are mother and son. So the one that's on the rope there is Orcus, she's the mum, and then Rufus is the son sat on the tree support. And then where she's got white kind of fur on her face, and he's got ginger fur on his, that's kind of standard for all males and all females, so you can always help them apart nicely. Sadly, you can see the ringtails don't do that, the boys and the girls are exactly the same. So, yeah, you have to know who's who half the time.
Question I always mess up, the scent glands.
Mhm.
The way they work is they rub them against stuff and
So,
that's how they dominate.
yeah, so the red-bellied ones, so they've got scent glands. Oh, I said on. They've got scent glands on the top of their heads and at the base of their tail, which they rub on kind of all the branches and stuff as they move through the enclosure. And they do that mostly as to leave a scent trail,
Yeah.
because in the wild they live in little groups and it's kind of a way of keeping track of who's who.
Yeah.
In the ringtails, the males especially have got the scent glands on the insides of their wrists. So.
Yeah.
Is that, yeah, Rakota's behind you, so he's got black dots on the insides of his wrist, which he rubs up and down his tail, and he might be about to scent mark on that tree now, actually. And he'll put his scent into trees like he's doing there,
Yeah.
and that is to kind of show his kind of, well, dominance as a male, because the females are actually the dominant gender. And then when it comes to breeding season and he wants to woo the ladies, he'll make his tail smell. So he'll rub those scent glands up and down his tail, and then waft his tail towards the females to give him his scent. And they would do that if they were to meet another group of ringtails out in the wild. They'll all do that, and they'll have what's known as a stink fight, where they waft their smell at each other, and the smelliest group wins.
Yeah, but how do the females dominate?
How do the females dominate the males?
Yeah.
Generally, not so much with scent, just with almost like
Just
aggression.
with arrogance, basically.
Yeah, so she will just chase him off, and she will tell him no, and that's kind of the way it is.
Yeah, fair enough.
Even the youngsters from last year will take his food from him and chase him off, things like that. So, yeah, so it's not so much with scent that they actually dominate them; they just tell them where to go.
Yeah. I did kind of hand things on them. And he's got it on camera. So I'll show you some of that. I'm going to go back up here. Well, I'm on Facebook. Hello. 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 Look at my tail. Look at my tail. I think that is a female. Yeah, that's a male.
Yeah, it's a bird, she's bigger than that.
I've got a paper that I somehow stumbled across on lemur fanniers. So they're kind of similar because female genitalia is kind of outside.
So,
You can sort of tell.
there is something about them.
I think that's why she didn't.
Always doing something, generally something that they shouldn't be doing.
I think that's why she
We do quite a lot of conservation work with them as well. Sometimes, yeah, we are lucky. We have a special amount of money that we can apply to go out and do conservation for them. So, yeah, we do get to see stuff. Which is nice, yeah. Especially when you kind of tell everyone here about it. It's nice to be able to actually say, oh, well, I've not been here myself, but some of my colleagues have here. Actually say, oh, I've been and seen what's going on.
Yes. See your face. See your face.
Yeah, and it's nice to be able to tell them that actually, there's lots of people are still very skeptical of zoos. That actually we are doing something practical out in the wild, as well as all the kind of captive stuff as well. Right then, have a cup of tea and then see the rest of the animals.
Okay. Right. I just proved on film. I'm going to show that film to anybody who says lemurs have sharp teeth. And if you touch them, they'll bite you.
And he'll probably try and take them all out of your hand. But if you, if you do one piece at a time.
I know.
Alright. You could hold that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
I'll take the first bit. Oh,
Alright, Kiwi.
no, not
No?
interested. No.
Somebody else. That's a boy.
There you go.
So yeah, so this is Kiwi, so we can tell, just be careful around his face. They can be a bit sensitive to kind of noise and hand movements and stuff.
This is stupid plastic piece of shit.
If I can go in and I can kind of pin it back if that's easier. If you want me to.
It
If
might
that's
be.
okay, I'll just,
Yeah.
Please.
Just to save you holding it.
That's
Thank you.
otherwise making them jump.
Yeah. Wakey doo.
Thank you.
You did that. Cool.
There we go.
Yeah.
So we can tell Kiwi's a male because when we see the females, you'll be able to tell he's quite a bit smaller. So okapi are one of the only large kind of African mammals where the males are considerably smaller than the females.
Oh, wow.
Not sure why. Don't know. If it has any particular kind of advantage for the males being smaller, but they all are. They've also got the ossicones on the top of their heads as well. So the girls just have, instead of these little lumps that Kiwi's got, the girls have just got little tiny kind of almost little pimples on the tops of their heads. Whereas the males have got the ossicones like the giraffe do.
Yeah.
And because he's quite a young male still, he's got like quite a lot of velvet on them. As he gets older, he'll rub that off, and you can kind of see if he turns his head round or kind of on the top, he's started to rub it off already. And he will just be left with kind of little horns on the top of his head.
Right. Yes, all right, I can have that bit. You're interested now, aren't you?
They're very food orientated, so as soon as we finish feeding him, he'll be doing something else.
Yep.
So same as with the giraffe, they've got their nice long tongues, so yeah, kind of exactly the same anatomically, apart from obviously they're a lot smaller. Their coat pattern is quite interesting as well, so they're really well camouflaged to living in a kind of a densely forested area. The stripes on their legs we think are to try and avoid predators, so their main predator out in the wild is leopards. So if you think of where a leopard's eye line is, it comes up to about the top of their legs. So if they've got stripy legs, then it makes it a bit more difficult for a leopard to kind of see the outline of their leg. And then they've got stripes when he turns around him over, see stripes kind of all the way up their rumps as well. We think this is for the females because if the calves are following them, because they're so well camouflaged, they can see these stripes kind of really clearly on the back of their mum and hopefully follow her a bit better. So it doesn't explain why the males have them, but might just be a kind of
genetic thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Pellets as well.
Yes, he does. Yeah. So we're going to give it to him in a tube feeder. So what we'll do after we've finished giving him the greens is we'll stick it outside for him, and we'll stick one outside for Ruby as well.
I didn't do that again. Okay.
They're very scent orientated too. So the males have got scent glands in their hooves. The males will like cross their legs and urinate on themselves as well, and kind of walk that through the forest, so that's a good way for them to scent mark.
Eat the hat.
He quite likes hair as well. Quite often, if you're doing something in the paddock, sometimes you just feel him like messing with your hair.
Yeah. Sensible to have your hair tied up for this job.
And they're really velvety as well, so they've got really kind of oily skin. And this again is scent orientated, so they can kind of brush off their oily kind of fur onto plants and things like that as they're walking past. And huge ears too, so if you think about the giraffes, they've got quite tiny ears. The okapi's massive dome ears help them to hear a bit better in the forest. So yeah, they have to have better hearing. Hello.
See if I didn't.
What are you looking at?
They've got huge ears, haven't they?
So we've just started mixing him with Kabibi, which is the female just through there. We'll go and see her in a minute. So hopefully we'll have some calves in about 2 years' time, because they've got quite a long gestation.
Wow.
Is he up the duff then?
Not yet, no, no, we've not seen any mating. So we've only just started mixing them.
What's their
pregnancy?
Yeah.
15 months.
15 months.
So
it
yeah,
takes them
so
a while
once
to
we've
breed,
got a couple of confirmed matings, we can try and estimate a date based on that, and then we'll be mixing him with the other female as well. But we can use kind of hormone assessments too, so we can collect fecal samples. So I'm gonna Kiwi. Yeah. Yeah, it's horrible for us last week. I can't imagine what it must have been like for them. A bit noisy, doesn't it, Kiwi?
Yeah, I have to admit I don't like big amounts of kids in small closed off areas. I don't like big amounts of children in small closed off areas. It's going to get a bit...
Yeah, it was very noisy for them last week. We had our busiest day ever last week. We had 8 more people than the zoo on that day. So, yeah, too many for the size of the, too many for the facilities that we've got for this site.
yeah, it was...
The size is fine, but yeah, not got enough toilets and stuff like that as well.
It was a bit like that. Like I had to queue up like 20-30 minutes just to get a blinking Fanta.
Yeah.
There's no unlike Bristol Zoo that seems to have more vending machines than animals.
Yeah.
None of which work.
I hope he's going to demonstrate that using the food feeders. So yeah, you can see that's a much better way to feed them than kind of from a trough.
You can actually guide that round with their tongue.
Yeah, and when they're hanging from the trees, it makes it a lot more difficult as well. we clip them to the fence sometimes, like with the lucerne feeder, and they kind of stay pretty still. But yeah, when they're up in the tree, it's a bit more tricky for them. Right, we'll grab some lunches from somebody else. We're actually...
How about cooking something
So
else?
she was actually the first animal that we had as wild place. She was the first animal that arrived, and she came from Rotterdam. And she is niece of Lodger, our other female. But they're quite well travelled, all of our calfies, apart from the calves. So they're part of a European breeding programme, so usually once they get to kind of maturity or a certain age, they'll be neutered when they come.
Hello.
So that's what would naturally happen. Potentially, yeah, so some of them can move around the world. So I used to work with one at Chester called Kiri, who's now in Florida. So I think he was a Rotterdam one as well, actually. So he came from Rotterdam to Chester, and then, yeah, went to Florida a couple of years ago.
What is wrong? Is that mites or is that normal?
She's just knocked herself.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's just scraped herself on a tree or something, I think.
Burn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we give them 24-hour access outside, so... so yeah, they do get scratches from people occasionally. Yeah. Good girl. This paddock's the nicest one, is this one, so she's not getting any lunch yet, so we're going to do some training with her in a bit. So we'll use that to get her into the training area.
Oh yeah. On Ellie. Ellie.
So she's been doing really well, and we've just weaned her, so she's separate from her mum at the moment, but they're next to each other, so they can still see each other.
Right.
We usually try and do a gradual weaning process, if we can, to give them a couple of days where they're just split overnight, and mix back together during the day, and then gradually build up the amount of time that they're separate.
Yeah.
So she's almost a year, and their average weaning age is about 10 months. I think the earliest they've been weaned is about 6, but that would be too early, really. That would be kind of extreme circumstances.
Right.
And then the latest is kind of just over a year.
Hello.
So we try and leave it as long as possible, but they'll usually kind of let us know. It'll be quite obvious when Lodger is ready for her to be weaned, because she'll be kind of kicking her off when she's trying to suckle.
Right, I see.
And yeah, they'll be spending more time apart and stuff like that as well, so you can usually tell when it's time. Good girl, can I see? So what she's doing at the moment is ruminating. So same as with cows, they've got a 4-chambered stomach. So they'll chew their food, swallow it, regurgitate it, and then chew it again. So she's chewing her food for the second time.
Going
now.
around the stomachs.
Yeah. So it's so chewing the cud, it's called.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, she's swallowing it again. And then you might see her bring some back up in a minute. And then she's brought it back up.
Oh, quite instant then.
Yeah. And with the giraffes it's even cooler, because they've got, you can watch it going up and down their necks, and it's kind of a big lump, kind of, moving up and down there.
Yeah.
Which is quite cool to see. So we've got some enrichment feeders in there for her as well, so just to keep her occupied, especially as she's just been weaned, so I want to make sure that she's got plenty to do, so she's not thinking like, oh, where's mum?
Yeah.
Even though she's right next door. And then once Lodger has stopped producing milk, which we're going to check today and see if she has, we can mix them back together. So as long as she doesn't go back to suckling, it's fine for them to be mixed together until she moves on to another collection.
Cool.
And Kamosi has got a new collection to go to next year in the spring. So she's going to be going over to a collection in France. And they're new holders, so they've not had a guppy before, so she'll be getting a nice new house.
Wow. Oh, well travelled.
Yeah. But hopefully she'll stay there then for, hopefully the rest of her life.
Yeah.
The breeding pen. And we'll start doing some crate training with her as well. So I'm just going to stick this in for her, as she seems quite settled in there. Sorry.
Sorry.
Put this then. Put it over here. There's one. There we go. first day that she's having tube feeders, so she might not go.
She might not understand.
Or still watching her. But yeah, we've been feeding her in a trough up to now. And I'll still feed her in a trough probably one day, one feed a day, just to do training with her. So we do desensitizing training with the calves, which is just like tactile contact with them from a really young age to get them used to us being there. And with her we've started, and Ruby as well, lifting their feet. And we use just a horse hoof pick to clean out their feet and make sure they've not got any stones in them. And then as they get older, if they need any hoof care doing, we don't have to anaesthetise them, we can just do it. We're probably leaving a bit uncomfortable to stay in there watching her. There it is. Sorry, can you see? Yeah, I've still got a stones in there.
You've got a wonderful eye. Look at that eye. Look at that eye.
It would take her a while.
With them we work around them, but it's with Kiwi even now you can go up and stroke him and he's quite social
Yeah.
and see you and give your hair a bit of a lick. Whereas Lodger will stay out of your way as much as possible. Unless you've got roses, who you like roses. Hello. And onions. As well. Right, Lodge. Good girl. So she's quite well travelled as well. So she was born in Rotterdam too. She then went to Paris and then obviously Bristol too before she came over here.
That's a nice photo.
Good girl, Lodger.
Yeah, good girl.
So yeah, we'll head over there now. So we've got our aviary with our Turkish Slick Dick, which is the little. I don't know how your mind works, Lucy.
Finish the old one.
Just making sure that she's going to take that one away. Huh?
So with her, I'll leave it in there until she's finished it. Get out of it later on, just so if she wants to eat kind of throughout the day, then she can. You good girl. You're so clever.
Yeah, you
Just
said
push this door across if that's alright.
you said about 30 minutes ago. Let's go to the walled gardens in my fault. And I
That's
apologise.
okay.
Sorry.
Walk across the door.
Oh.
Lovely.
There we go.
That's okay, so we'll come over here.
Don't worry, it'll please. I'll just give you those to hold. And we can put ourselves on the rock. I know, this is it. So, before I pop this down, because it's going to be like they've never eaten before in their life, even though they've had 2 feeds already, if you want to grab some crickets out.
Yeah, so I take the whole lid off?
Yeah, just take the lid off. I'll grab the lid and then you can. Yeah, it should just clip off. Yeah, you want it. Lovely. And just pop a few in these little different holes. Oh yeah. Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
Come here, darling. Yeah.
Go on, you can do it. You can move that thing and grab a handful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a bit easier.
Hide it away.
There you go.
Yeah, just grab them. Grab them all. Here we go. Here we go.
Well, eh?
Get some more. Get some more.
That's a small
Stuff
one.
him into a tiny hole.
This is a thing, Smurf.
I think it's more enrichment for us, to be honest. I swear that we get more enjoyment. Well, I don't know about more enjoyment, but there's only one on his own there. There we go.
A few more friends in there.
A few more friends. Like a dating site in Newport. No, I think several of you all know they're going to meet their bitter end, to be honest.
Yeah. A few solemn silent moments.
Yeah, yeah, and then just sprinkle some in there and we'll pop it down.
There we go.
That's alright. There we go. That's it, just shake it all about. And then you can pop it down wherever you want.
There we go.
Oh, that was
What's
delicious.
that, do you reckon?
Right, where do you want it? Where should we prop it? Do you want it close to you so you can take photos? Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you want to perch up anywhere? Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's because I got that. There you go. You can sit down and make yourself comfortable.
Don't want to ruin your camera, stupid cat.
Oh, sorry, I've chucked some on you. Just be careful they don't go up your top.
Oh, and one thing. You've definitely got one on your right leg. Cricket.
So the meerkats, you see these patterns they have on the back?
Yeah.
So just like we have a fingerprint, and like Humboldt penguins, they have individual spot patterns on their bellies. No two spot patterns the same, just like these guys. So that actually acts, that pattern on their back acts as their own personal fingerprint. So even though they look exactly the same, whether it be just like a fraction of a difference, oh that one's gone right down the furrow there, whether it be a fraction of a difference, they're all individual. These guys are 7 boys, and the eldest is around 7 years old. Now in the wild they'd be lucky to see 7. It's around 5 to 7 years old that they've been reported to live in the wild. Right, but they are part of the mongoose family and they're quite short-lived really. Because we treat them so well in captivity, their lifespan is doubled. So around 12 to 14 years you can expect them to live. Our eldest guy, oh god I'm getting this. Our eldest guy is the one with a slightly orange bum. Yeah, that one there.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, so we've actually marked
like
him
an
ourselves.
Oh, okay.
So because they've been with us for years now, just for sort of like good standards of practice really, they go into for a clinic health check. So they pretty much get an MOT. So they get checked for parasites, get checked on their condition, all their sort of like, they get x-rays, just to make sure everyone's happy.
Yeah.
We also have sort of tests done and like bloods, and just have a general overall check. We found with him everyone was in good health, bar him. So he's got slightly different markings here as well. It's because he's had several mats on his back. Now to us mats would indicate not grooming properly, and because he is our eldest, it might mean that maybe he's actually having discomfort, some form of arthritis or pain, so stopping him from reaching around that well to groom himself. The other reason could be hormonal, and there could be sort of a biological reason why he just doesn't feel the need to groom properly. So what we've done is we've cut the mats off and we've marked him. They are microchipped, but these guys are very difficult and very stressy when you catch them up. It's not an easy task. So just to make it easier on ourselves so we can identify him straight away and keep an eye on him, we've just marked him with a little orange dye.
Oh, that's easy, yeah. So it's
Yeah,
visual
so
straight away.
straight away we
Yeah.
know who he is without having to sort of traipse through everything.
Yeah, capture them or anything. Yeah.
So we're going to keep an eye on him. These guys are all related, they are all brothers,
Oh, wow.
and they coincide 99.9% of the time very well. But I mean, when you hang out with your brother all the time, sometimes they get annoying, don't they? So sometimes you're going to have arguments, which they do, which is generally over food, who gets the best cricket, most of the time. But they're pretty good. And the reason why we've got single sex groups is because they are doing really well in the wild and in captivity, and
Right.
quite frankly we run out of space in captivity. They are an iconic species, and these guys have always been bred in captivity and have been cared for in a way where they just wouldn't survive in the wild. So the ones that we have sort of remain as they are in zoological collections, and obviously are quite happy about it considering their lifespan is doubled.
Yeah.
They're not stressed at all, they're very inquisitive. As long as you sort of give them what they need, they're very, very happy. They don't have a stop tap for food. That kind of instinct for sort of scavenging and sort of gulping down their food when they can is never bred out of them. In the wild, they don't get a chance to eat all the time, so when they come across food, it's imperative that they gobble down as much as possible.
Right.
And that, even when they were all bred in captivity, it's never sort of gone away. So we have to monitor their food very closely, because quite often collections have a big problem with their weight, and it's not uncommon to see an obese meerkat in zoos. They're sat down and they're all like
Yeah.
a big blob basically. The problem we get, and if you see one, there's more chances because they are feeding them meat, so they're feeding them like day-old chicks. These guys are carnivorous as well. They can eat a bit of everything, and they do survive off of sort of scorpions and snakes in the wild.
Nice.
As well as insects. But they do this because scorpions, snakes, insects, they all got a high water content, and they rely on their food heavily for hydration, because you get months and months and months in like the Kalahari Desert and then the Namib Desert where it's just water is just so scarce because it's so dry and arid.
Yeah.
So they do rely on their diet. Now, they have been known to have day-old chicks in zoos, but there's just not, with everything else on top, as well as having live food a couple times a day and having 2 main feeds with pellet and a bit of vegetables and things like that. There's just no need for that, and that's where sort of the weight problems come into it then.
Yeah.
There's very little nutrition in the day-old chicks for them, and it's just more fatty than anything. So we don't feed ours any of that at all. They get 2 live feeds a day, so pretty much a whole tub of this.
Yep.
And they get 2 main feeds, which has a special pellet that's been formulated for them, like a multivitamin basically, and along with that they get like vegetables like corn, aubergine, carrot, celeriac, sort of starchy vegetables that they have for roughage in their diet. Bit of fibre, keep everything moving.
But there are still zoos out there that will overfeed them.
Yeah, I mean it's quite easy to, and not by choice, it's more out of love, really. Like with your dog or your cat or something, like they're crying and you would have thought they'd eaten in like 2 days or something. You're like, oh, it's your birthday, don't worry. Just have a little bit.
I've got a cat, so I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're not always on the section, but if everyone's doing that and they're like, oh, I haven't been on here for a week, they can have a treat. They're having a treat
And
like every
everyone's
day.
treating them,
yeah. And it basically builds up just like that. So it can be, it can sort of creep up very quickly and you not realise it. And getting them to lose weight is then really, really difficult. It's true the saying, even for animals, that it's easier to put it on than it is to take it off.
Yeah.
So
do monitor these guys' diet very closely, and they are all perfect weight for them, so which is great news for us. And the live food really helps in a way, because they have to work for the food. It's exercise, it's enrichment for them. So it's not only physically stimulating, it's mentally stimulating as well. So it's best of both worlds for them, really.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice. And I mean, they got those long claws, they need to use them. We've because they've clearly had a plan to escape recently, because I don't know how often you guys come here.
Didn't see more than me.
Well,
this is my first visit.
They were digging for treasure, and they succeeded. They managed to dig out, and you're right there.
I had a cricket in my hand.
You got a cricket. You're
I'm
all right.
not entirely sure.
I think it's him going to say hello.
Oh, hello. I didn't see him there.
So he's just standing on guard at the moment. And when they stand on guard like that in the group, it's called a sentry.
Okay.
So sentries are the guardians, and a sentry will stand guard for predators whilst the others are foraging around just be careful with your face, that's all right, for an hour, and then they'll swap over.
Oh, wow.
So they do that just because the hot weather and looking up at the sun, even though they've evolved to have these black circles around their eyes, it's like their own personal sunglasses.
Yeah.
The sun basically bounces off of that, reflects off, and so it protects their retinas, and they can sort of look up at the sky with no problems, unlike us who like squint and it can damage our eyes.
Retina burn and everything.
But they sort of stay well and keep their eyesight and stay sort of alert. They have an hour at a time each, which is very clever, really.
Yeah.
It's only the adults that do it, and the youngsters won't forage until they're at least a month old, and then when they do, they're always with either their parents or with an auntie and uncle, one of the elders that are very experienced in hunting, foraging, and can look after them efficiently. They're a very tight-knit family group, and they are in the wild as well. They've been recorded up to between 20 and 50 members within a group.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're called clans, gangs, or mobs, is what their sort of nicknames are. They got the mob because they are so protective of each other, and if one is getting predated on and it's kind of looking like they're succeeded, they'll all come together and will circle around the predator, and will take it in turns to lash out and jab them and attack them, to actually mob them all together, to basically encourage them to leave and save their family member, which is really, really nice and quite endearing, really. It's figured that within a group, because they have only one dominant breeding pair, that the brothers and sisters, they all sort of care for their young, because at least if their genetics don't get passed on directly, at least some of it will get passed on within their brother and sister. If they want to move on, or they get pregnant by accident, sneaking off behind a rock, then unfortunately they will get pushed out, and they will need to go and start their own group, or find their own different ones. Yeah.
The one who did accidentally.
Oh, really? Are they taking a keen interest in your tail there? Just be careful with your hands. When they bite, they can go straight through the muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah. They need to go. I mean, in the wild, they live off of scorpions. Meerkats are one of the few animals that are actually immune to some of the most deadliest venom out there.
Wow.
One being the scorpions. When they're young, though, they can still get really ill from it. They won't die, but they'll get very poorly. So that's why they hang around with one of the older ones when they're learning to hunt and forage, so that they can watch their elder and sort of hunt them and kill them correctly without getting stung. Because that's one of the big problems when they're young. That's one of their favourite meals. So, according to David Attenborough, is a scorpion out in the wild. But you'll find them with snakes, lizards, any insect they can get their hands on, really. But do you guys, I know, sorry, I'm jabbering on about them. Do you have any questions about them?
I don't think I do.
No, we covered quite a lot. I just keep because I'm
it's
learning
really
myself.
good.
I'm like spilling out all the information I'm trying to learn.
It's fantastic.
It's good for me, really.
Yeah.
They use their tails, one mainly for the balance, but also this black tag on the back here acts as basically like an indicator. So a sentry, when they are on guard, they will make little grunt noises and things like that when everything's okay. And as soon as some danger happens, there may be a sharp noise or he goes quiet, and he uses basically his clicker. Do you want me to hold that while you get up?
Oh, thank you.
That's okay.
It's on
Record.
camera, so yeah, if you point it.
How do you take it?
No, it's just filming now.
Oh, is it filming you? So they then use their sort of tails as an indicator and like other warning calls, and they'll all dash off to cover. No. Just be careful with your hands. No. We were like, have to cut the dough short, and so also his fingers. Yeah. So I think if we head, do you want to head round to the beds quickly? Otherwise, we will run out of time. The birds. Just have a quick. Do you want to have a quick look at the birds around the back of the scenes? Yeah. Well, we'll have a quick look at them and chuck a few bits of live food for them, and then we'll head round to the reindeer. Yes, and then it'll be lunchtime. Just be careful. Oh no, please be careful. No, please. I just really don't want you to get your face bitten.
I'm sure you take live on Facebook.
Look at that. That's pretty awesome. I think the Smurf is watching.
Right then, we
He's
will
probably thinking, why is Eddie in the thing?
we will leave these guys to it.
One of these little misters.
Oh, have you got a numb bum? Yeah, just pop those back in there. I think they're all finished with them. Cool. Lovely.
Okay, I'm going to love you and leave you Smurfy so we can look at the dicky birds and then...
It's nice with these guys because you can, as, you know, on their own terms, you can get nice and close to them. Birds, they carry a bacteria called aspergillus, and it's a bit like yeast for us. Like, it lives in them like yeast lives in us, but when things come off balance or we get a bit stressed or something, it can take over.
Oh, pumpkin.
Yes, we were feeding the others sweet potato earlier.
Yeah. Oh, you're getting
So
nipped.
this is what I love.
Careful you don't bite you.
Please don't get bitten.
No. Got it on camera, we did.
Yeah. Like, it's not my fault.
Look, I signed it.
This is a disclaimer.
Yeah. Do they get fed the whole thing?
Yeah, so they have a couple feeds a day. We can just scatter this around. We haven't got no sweet potato in this one. Darling, I apologise.
No, that's their
He's like,
favourite.
how dare you?
Yeah.
How bloody dare you? That's it, that one don't want to know. She's gone back in.
Yeah, no.
You can tell they're a bit spoiled, can't you? What we can do with it is you just chuck it across the enclosure and they'll scatter it around. It's good for them to forage in here because whilst they're in the holding, it's nice to give them lots of stimulation because they are a social species, and they need to sort of work for their food as well. So types of enrichment we do with these, because these guys, I'm sure you were told earlier in the primates, they rely heavily on scent for communication. So we do things like fruit teas, dilute them down and spread the tea over different branches to create like different scents.
Oh, cool.
We also use different herbs and things like that, just to keep them guessing and saying, oh, what's this new scent, and just gives them that much more exercise and stimulation. These guys will scent mark any new scent because it's their house and it should be their smell across everything. So it's not uncommon for you to see them doing sort of a backwards handstand up the vein, because they've got a scent gland just by their bums.
Oh, yeah.
And they're often rubbing them. They also, I'm sure you were told, they also have the scent gland in their wrist, and they'll rub their tails between it and stink it over. Oh, you don't want to eat that. And they're very, very keen indeed.
See.
They'll sort of strip the whole thing. So you might see that some of them still have their velvet on, and some have completely bare antlers.
Yes.
Now I don't know if you know much about sort of antelopes. The ones that do grow the horns, they will shed their velvet and basically shed their antlers every year and regrow them back. It's quite incredible, really. You think the amount of effort that takes for them to have to do that every year. So it's not very nice to look at sometimes if you're a visitor, because when they shed their velvet, beneath the velvet and the antler there's lots of blood vessels, and it's not very nice, but it's completely natural, and they go through this every year.
And it's not painful for them.
And it's not pain for them. Well, I imagine when they grow their antlers back, I you know, obviously don't quote me on this, but like growing pains, I should think that maybe they incur some discomfort maybe with the growing them. It should take a lot of energy and a lot of nutrients to do this.
Yeah.
You look how big they are, like how they do that every year. That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
There has been issues with and links to antler growth and castrations. So these guys have been castrated, the males, because there's not a need to breed them, and so they all coincide quite nicely in happy families. We've castrated them, but unfortunately, because of testosterone production is a lot to do with their growth of their antlers, we found that they were having problems in growing them, and they were getting almost like bumbley-fied and not going properly, and they were getting like infections within their antlers.
Right.
So now they're on different medication. It's just basically a testosterone, it's like a steroid jab basically. They get an injection of testosterone, and
cool.
this year we've had no problems. You know, they've grown back beautifully.
Yeah.
And they seem to be sort of shedding their velvet and doing everything okay this time round. So there's definitely, in research, there's definitely a link between testosterone and sort of like sex hormones to their growth of their antlers, which makes sense really, because that sort of goes in the attraction of the females. And also for when they fight as well, the bigger the antlers, you know, the more it's going to hurt, really. But yeah, they're pretty impressive, these guys.
Yeah, they really are.
I think it's the females that have shed their velvet sooner than the males. Oh no, sorry, I think it's the other way around.
I think Ellie, was it Ellie?
Did she say? Yeah.
Yeah, we walked past briefly and she talked about them briefly. I think
Did she say the females? It was the females first?
Yeah,
I think
first,
they're slightly
yeah.
smaller, aren't they, the females?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, this is I haven't covered this section yet, not full time, but this will be the next one, I think, for me.
Yeah, you're extremely knowledgeable.
Thank you. I try to know. I take a great deal of interest in what I don't know. I'm happy to try and find out, and I think
brilliant, isn't it, when your job is your passion?
yeah,
I think it's fantastic.
that's it. I mean, you take the good with the bad, of course.
Yeah.
With anywhere, and especially in winter, it's a really difficult job.
Really?
It's hard to get up in the morning sometimes.
Oh,
with
yeah, I suppose.
It's so wet and windy, and no matter what, all weather conditions, the animals have got to be cared for.
Yeah.
And it's not their fault if you're having a bad day.
Yeah, I suppose there's no deciding you're just going to stay in bed on any
exactly.
days.
There's no
yeah.
like, oh no, I can't. Or everyone's like, oh, you work Christmas, and we're like, well, yeah, the animals still need to be fed on
Yeah,
Christmas.
they don't get a 2-week holiday.
No, the world just stops.
Yeah.
When do you work at Christmas? If you work at Sainsbury's?
Oh, I've worked in retail
Do you
most
get
of my
double
life,
time?
so.
Do you get extra money?
No.
No.
I used to work
No, I think it's uniform as well,
Yeah, do you think
It's a bit of a more comfort, I think. Yeah. Or if you do like late night shifts and that, you generally get more, don't you? Yeah. Yeah. Oh god.
So you can get a few extra sales now. People looking for the
Yeah.
last minute presents even though none of the stuff is on sale. So that may
Yeah, it makes the world go round, doesn't it? And weekends as well, that was always the thing. They're like, oh, you work weekends. Like, yeah, we have to. And to be honest, it's our busiest time as well. Well, you don't, unless you get a day off in the week as well, you get time to sort of do bits and things, like bills, go to the bank, or go to the doctors, or do stuff that you need. Yeah. Yeah.
falling easy across between the tree and the
Yeah.
You alright, Missy? Get done.
baby.
It's a lot smaller. Pretty sure. Yeah, she's definitely smaller. It's like it's good to look at you, don't they? Like, it's on you. But now everyone's like, oh, it's getting cold, the poor things. They thrive in the winter. These guys. Yeah. The only thing we have to watch out is the paddock. It's just the paddock we have to watch out of, because if the paddock gets really boggy, that's why we have the two that we can alternate. We don't want it in 4 feet. Quite can be quite common in sort of hooved animals when you have them on sort of a boggy ground all the time. Or whatever, it's got that schooling dead in there.
It's just gravel. The surface must be alright.
It's not too bad, it's half gravel, like half mud.
Oh, okay. So it might get a bit boggy.
It could get a bit boggy, but this is when we take advantage of the two paddocks.
Yeah.
They're also our own personal grass cutters. Don't need a lawnmower in it.
Yeah, like goats.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, if you want to cut your grass, just put some goats in. Yeah. I think that's just something like that.
Still going. Will they eat all of us?
They might do.
Hey, lady. I'm not sure how good their eyesight is, so if you do shake it around a little bit and get their attention.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure, I'm sure it is because they'll have to watch out for predators and all that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's just starting to take his off now. Just a little bit up the top there.
Lovely jubbly.
Oh.
Taken quite a while to find it, you know. No, not particularly. They don't seem to. No, and it does take them a long time to. Yeah, although he has been over because we don't usually put it over to that area. To be honest, not usually. I mean, it depends on who does it, but so they don't usually go back there. So he's definitely watched us going over there. He just doesn't know where you've put it. A couple of them already found some. They'll probably find it in a second. Oh, we've got one now. Let's quickly pick up some waste in that house.
Yeah, there we go.
It'll take them quite a while to find it,
Yeah.
you know.
They're not watching us do it, and
No, not particularly. They don't seem to. No, and it does take them a
not
long
like a
time.
memory game for them.
Yeah, although he has been over because we don't usually put it over to that area. To be honest.
Okay.
Not
right.
usually. I mean, it depends on who does it, but so they don't usually go back there. So he's definitely watched us going over there. He just doesn't know where you've put it. A couple of them already found some. They'll probably find it in a second. Oh, he's got one now.
Oh, excellent.
Right, just got to quickly pick up some waste in that house.
Meowie meow cats. Yeah. Now you can get it. Oh, not very steady.
Two of them up.
He's gonna have a go now.
Managed to go up the top, did he?
Yeah, he didn't eat anything there.
Oh, he didn't?
Sat there and jumped back down.
Ah, maybe that hole's got a bit.
Oh yeah.
Kids need to learn anyway.
That is the end of the call.
So the best thing what we'll do is we'll go down there, we'll go
we'll go put this into their enclosure, and then they might come up to us a little bit then, but otherwise what we'll do is I'll send you guys round to another side, usually where you can. What's the normal job from this on? What are you normally doing on a Thursday afternoon? Oh, do you?
Yeah.
We'll wait here for.
Come on, you son of a bitch.
The only dogs at home?
No, we'll have soon.
You will have soon.
Yeah.
What are you getting?
Probably a Russell, whatever needs their own, basically.
Oh, okay.
You what?
Yeah.
I'd love a dog one day. I will get one.
I'd love dogs. They're great.
I want to get a puppy and 2 kittens.
What make you got?
I've got a Czechoslovakian wolf dog.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Quite a beast.
Quite a beast. Looks a bit like one of these guys. Yeah.
Things like huskies.
Yeah. I used to have a Malamute as well. So I used to have a Malamute and the Czech. The Czech's only a 3-year-old. She's quite young, but she's a handful.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way, she's a handful. Right, come on with me then guys, and we'll go and put this in the enclosure. Right, if you just close that up, just stick the latch across just to stop anyone opening. I'm going to put the padlock on or anything here.
Okay.
Who wants to give me a hand getting it out of the thingy?
I'll do it.
Yeah? Okay. That's fine, just like that, that's fine. No, that's absolutely fine, yeah. Right, I'll get you some gloves. So we do have a little wolf house, by all means can have a quick look in there if you want to. They don't use it because they're a wolf and they are quite happy outside. But we do have facilities if we ever needed to. We can do a little bit of training in here, so people like Anna, she is able to train some of the wolves, and she can get the wolves to come right up here and actually hand feed. And we do that for trying to get things like medication in them, you know, like worming tablets and stuff like that, just normal stuff you would give a dog. So she does do a bit of that. Her and Zoe do that. There are your gloves. Thank you. But what we're going to do is we're going to go into the smaller area of the enclosure, and we're going to put the food out in there for them. We will make sure they're not in there first, though. They're not. You know, wolves are not a dangerous animal.
They're not.
They're very misunderstood. They have a very bad reputation, but they will not attack people very often.
Have been known to, but they...
Have been known to, but it's pretty rare. So come with me guys, we'll go around the back of the
This is pointless. I'm gonna end this and just film it on my camcorder and upload it later, otherwise it'll be boring.
Once I've carcassed it, I'll get
Oh,
out
true.
my
Oh.
thing as well. But
We'll wait until you
and by all means, film me putting it in if you want.
absolutely.
Yeah, they do have this really bad reputation, wolves do.
Yeah.
It's, yeah,
It's a real shame, it is, isn't it? It's a real shame.
it's a bloody Hollywood movers, isn't it?
Oh, sorry?
Yeah, sort of,
Bloody werewolf movers.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what it
kind of
Yeah.
thing, yeah.
Even nowadays, you know, it used to be a bit of a fairy tale and folklore and stuff like that, but even nowadays, yeah, Hollywood and
is.
stuff like that, they just give them this really bad rep. And it's not deserved.
Bats get the same treatment to a certain extent.
Yes, you're right, they do, yeah. Right, watch the wires around there, I'll electric wires.
Alright.
Don't want to be touching one of those. You can leave that gate open, it's fine. There's no
Probably quite violently electrified as well. Right.
I'll be keeping an eye on that. There, keeping just an eye on this. Right, let's get this over here. You got it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so basically we're going to be feeding Smurfette to the wolves.
Right, do you want to grab those back legs for me? Come out, we'll come towards you, that'll be easier. We'll just pop it on the floor. Lovely. Feeding Smurfette to the wolves.
Yeah.
But it just has to be stained blue, just so it doesn't, you know, there's no way that can get into the food chain, the human food chain.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, what we don't want. I mean, it's perfectly good meat. I mean, that would only have been, that would have been shot not very long ago at all, and then just frozen. Get it from a supplier in Devon. So all our meat from probably gets a lot of Dartmoor pony and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's the kind of plan. True.
Right. I'll grab that gate for you. It's fine. Sure. You guys can come out this way. I'll grab the gate. And I'll open that up. And hopefully they'll come down. Certainly maybe
Then where's the best place to see them from that area? Just so where's the best place to see them from that area?
We'll have a look here. We'll stay here for just a little bit. If you go up there, there's not a chance they'll come down.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so we'll just stay here a little bit, see if they come down once I've opened the gate. If not, the best place for you to go afterwards would be actually around the other side of the exhibit.
The barefoot trail?
On the barefoot trail.
Yeah, I know.
What they usually do is they'll drag that way. That's what
Yeah.
usually they do. So, so hopefully we'll see them here, but we'll see.
Okay, now I'm going to switch to camcorder.
So far, no wolf. Just a dead Smurf.
Hopefully they'll come down.
Someone's appeared. Only one.
You look invited the back over there.
Quick, Grace is with it! Oh, it is her. Get up.
Where's the John? Where's the me?
Told you, still I've got shit outside.
He's not really dragging it, he's just eating it there. Have you got good... Well, I don't know, I thought they would.
That's why I turned off sound on mine so it wouldn't sound like a fucking arcade every time you use it. Yeah. Oh no, usually. Come quite a lot closer. Probably don't get too mad.
So it's just part and parcel of health and safety that she did that. Health and safety gone mad. So they're sensitive to noise.
No, he wants to be.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah, well that was better than I was expecting, I have to admit. Meerkats are awesome. We both thought that. Yeah. Lemurs were awesome. Wolves were a teeny bit of a disappointment, but I kind of didn't expect much, so everything else was absolutely awesome. They gave us... Oh, we didn't get an introductory briefing, that was kind of odd. They said we were going to get an introductory briefing, who literally just sort of turned up at about at the right time. Some guy came up and said, "Right, hi, let's go and feed the giraffes." That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dare say we even got about 15 minutes extra because they forgot to, well, we lost track of time. We got a new keeper to do the meerkats, which was lucky. And then we just lost track of time.
Yeah, she was not all around.
So, yeah, she was really kind of just telling us everything she knew. Talking at, well, you've seen the video. And in the unlikely circumstance that you didn't record sound for some reason, like it sometimes does that, we got it on camcorder as well, so did you film in the 2 lemur bit? basically it was all really cool. Everyone was friendly. I noticed, I think that's a grumpy teenager, the one that was in the thing. Like, if you look at the bad reviews, they always reference a grumpy teenager, usually in the shop area, and I can't decide who that is. It's either the person who, you know, the woman who served us in the coffee shop, or another guy that doesn't seem to work there anymore.
Coffee shop woman wasn't a teenager though.
True. I didn't think this other person was. Well, he was just... He's a bit of a hippie, so he was one of these stereotypical sort of American, yo, yay man, you know what I mean, man? You know, one of those sort of characters, and that might be what they mean by... I know one person was complaining that he wasn't professional, like... You know, they're like, can I buy this? And he was like, oh, sure, man. Rather than saying, yes, sir. So, you know. It's like, yeah, we'll go to Cheltenham Race Course or some shit like that, you know. Don't go to a farm and complain that there's farmers. It's a bit silly. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think Ed really enjoyed it. It was awesome. And yeah. And Ida missed most of it because I left her in the draft house. But that's alright, it saved me carrying her around all day. And I left her a whole bottle of water in it, I can't believe it. Or because they said, oh, why don't you leave it in the thing? And I put it like on a clean bit because, you know, they were weighing up food and stuff. Didn't want it to get in the way. Yeah, and that's what happened. And then suddenly we weren't in the draft bit anymore. We were going to the carpets, I think, after that. So, you know, they kept promising. That was the other thing. They kept saying, oh, well, we'll do the carpets and then we'll get a cup of tea. I mean, we'll do the draft. So we'll get a cup of tea. Okay, we'll do the drafts and then just do the carpy, and then eventually we've got a cup of tea after the lemurs. So anyway, honestly, I really enjoyed it. There you go.
Footage of you flinging it around.
5 seconds.